It is difficult to tell someone about Thomas Berry. What does one say? He was a great geologian. One knows that the listener will not know what a geologian is. He was a great ecologist. Well, not if one means a scientific ecologist. He was a great theologian. Well, he chose not directly to address theology. He was a prophet. If the listener asks what kind, one knowing he or she will not be understood must say, Thomas Berry prophesied a new geobiological era. He was a visionary. One could further explain that Thomas Berry had a vision of an ecologically sound society, to which the listener might say, oh, you mean a sustainable society? And one could only say to that, yes, that's partly right, knowing it's the other part, the one that's so hard to explain, that's really important. Let's face it, Thomas didn't write or speak the way anyone else did, and he didn't have just a few main points that one could recite to sum him up. His writing was poetic, historical, philosophical, ecological, humanistic, cosmological, and ever integral with itself. With Thomas, one always waited for his work to end, for the summing up, but it never did. It just continued, and it still continues. I learned from it every day. I learned a lot preparing for this talk. What I learned was something I already knew, but I needed to learn all over again. This was that Thomas was fundamentally about the universe. I'll get this up high enough soon. For Thomas, this is where it all began and ended. The universe was the supreme reality, as he would often say, the text without context. Everything we know by reference to the universe and its place and relationships in the universe. This is even true of our knowledge of the divine. We know the divine by our experience of the universe. To Thomas, the source of human problems in modernity came from a misunderstanding of the universe, and from this came a mistaken relationship in the universe and thus to Earth. On the very first page of The Dream of the Earth, published in 1988, the first book Thomas wrote during his ecological phase, he stated, for peoples generally, their story of the universe and the human role in the universe is their primary source of intelligibility and value. Thomas would have agreed with William James, who wrote in The Varieties of Religious Experience, at bottom, the whole concern of both morality and religion is with the manner of our acceptance of the universe. And while understanding himself as a geologian, not a theologian, he would have understood William Drees' statement that systematic theologies offer a particular view of the way the world is and a view of the way the world should be, thus of the true and the good, of the real and the ideal. Each theology is a particular view of the relationship between a cosmology, in the metaphysical sense, a view of the way the world is, and an axiology, that is a view of the values that should be realized in the universe. What a magnificent understanding Thomas gave us of the universe and the values that are being realized in it. Addressing the Western world where modernity arose, Thomas said that there was a story of the universe, a functional cosmology, that provided a basic context of meaning no matter what, until the time of the Black Death and the other social disturbances of the 14th and 15th century. From this time, two directions arose. One toward a religious redemption out of the tragic world, the other toward greater control of the physical world to escape its pain and to increase its utility to human society. From these two tendencies, the two dominant cultural communities of recent centuries were formed. The believing religious community and the secular community with its new scientific knowledge and its industrial powers of exploiting the natural world. It was the secular community that came to control the creative energies of the human community. The universe was seen as mechanical, meaningless, and amoral. Notwithstanding this hopeless comprehension of reality, or perhaps because of it, a secular vision of an industrial paradise arose, one where the very conditions of human existence could be overcome. This was an anthropocentric vision, one which could ultimately only be realized by the desolation of the natural world. Thomas wrote, "If the ecological movement has not achieved its full efficacy in confrontation with the industrial vision, it is not because of the political or economic realities, but because of the mythic power of the industrial vision." While he didn't use these words, to Thomas, the modern understanding of the universe was a lie. For him, the universe was filled with meaning and purpose. It was a universe of intimacy, beauty, and wonder, an unfolding expression of a dream. Reflecting on the formless energies in the early universe, he asked, what enabled them to emerge into such a fantastic variety of expression in shape, color, scent, feeling, thought, and imagination? And he answered, as with any aesthetic work, we attribute it especially to the imaginative capacities of the artist. For only out of imaginative power does any grand creative work take shape. Since imagination functions most freely in dream vision, we tend to associate creativity also with dream experience. In this context, we might say, in the beginning was the dream. Through the dream, all things were made. And without the dream, nothing was made that has been made. While Thomas was fundamentally in agreement with the cosmological understandings of classical, humanistic, and religious traditions, he came to understand that 20th century science had discovered characteristics of the universe that could not have been known to earlier peoples in the same way. Science disclosed an evolutionary universe, not merely a cosmos, but a cosmogenesis, a universe that had developed through a sequence of irreversible transformation tending toward greater complexity and consciousness. For the first time, the universe was known as a universe in the human, and therefore, in a sense, the human brought the universe into existence.